So bad shows, unfocused, no real point. It's a podcast to podcast, and it's a lot of small talk. So it never goes deep. A good episode will be something that has an inherent value to it. Like, now that I've heard this audio, I can actually go do something with an informed mind. Or vulnerability. So somebody who sheds their skin and says, like myself, like, I quit drinking 2 years ago, right? And I talk about it openly because I think that I was a gypsy. I was in a rock and roll band, and alcohol was like a pillar of my life. And to remove that from my life was a difficult thing, but it's been the best decision I ever made. So sharing that vulnerability, that I'm not up on the mountain, I'm not the expert, I'm not the perfect person, makes for really magnetic content. So if you look at like Joe Rogan or Dax Shepard or anybody who's on the top of the podcasting game, what they do is not only are they vulnerable and share their vulnerabilities with their audience, but they get their guests to do the same thing. So what I recommend is, if you're doing an interview podcast, is you want to first of all, you want to ask questions that are going to lead somewhere, but then you want to try to get them to go a little deeper into maybe the struggle, maybe overcoming things. And then the other thing I love, and what I've really loved about this podcast, is that you've done your research. First of all, like you've listened to my stuff, so this isn't just like some crazy conversation. But you haven't necessarily just asked me softball questions. Like, you actually put some thought into the questions, which makes this interview different than anyone that I've ever done, and probably my favorite ever. So I think that basically, if you're just podcasting to have an interview and it never really gets deep, then that's a good indication it's just another podcast. But if you can get somebody to share something really, and I'm not saying be intrusive into people's lives, but you have to go deeper than like, so let me use an example of an author. Everyone's going to go, so when did you decide to write the book? Or, everyone thinks they could write a book. Why did you write this book? Bad question, right? The real question is, so you're writing this book, you're pouring your heart out into it. Was there ever a time when you were writing this book where you just felt like deleting it, throwing it in the garbage, quitting? Then they're going to say, oh yeah, I had this really, I got writer's block and I almost quit. That's a really great story. Not why did you decide to write a book?
Yeah, agreed. And I appreciate the kind words, because it took me a long